What up people, Derek here with benDy Tubes, and we've got another super fun multi-brand bodacious bash of BMXery, so let's get into it. First, I want to thank our sponsors, KHE 4 Pegs Ground Whip and Flatland Fuel, and I want to welcome to the family, Paragon BMX. Y'all, I know this guy. It's freaking crazy, but the brain behind Paragon and I went to high school together, and there wasn't even an old poverty flatland frame that exchanged hands between the two of us. How nuts is that? What is Paragon? It is a small batch company making rad flatland components right here in Merca, bar ends, headset spacers, and the part I want to call out, the Cavo pedals. Joint venture between Brandon at Paragon and Mark, the other Maj, the brain behind those super sick Forged Carbon 990 brakes. Freaking sick. These pedals got a TI titanium axle, sealed bearings, small size 3D printed carbon fiber infused body, y'all. I just got them, rode them today, love them. Had the motos for a long time, and these are far superior. Way less rattles, way more solid. Check them out, paragonbmx.com. So I often find inspiration in random places. Sometimes it's a ground whip post. Sometimes I see something on eBay. This time it was BMX Museum for sale, and it was this 20 Bike Company Android frame. But before we break down this mid-school masterpiece, let's look a little deeper at the fellas who made it. Now, you can't talk 20 Velocross without the founders Jean-Luc Ferrari and Alexander Barrett. Where did these French gentlemen get their inspiration for 20? Well, it came whenever they worked at Sunn Bicycles, another French company, so let's start there. Sunn has been around for a while. They made bikes in the 80s and 90s, mostly race bikes. Pretty cool, kind of intense stuff like this junior cruiser that is all trussed out. But in 1997 and 1998, they made the El Palomino, which is, and I quote, designed by the Mexicans. Maybe something's wrong with the translation. But this was a total early mid-school chonked out frame, wishbones at the seat and chainstay, big old slab gusset up front, this cool welded junction platform that was actually optional, dangling bottom bracket, even some forks with horizontal axle slots, kind of like the We the People forks, tapered stays, dropouts, stuff like that. Now that no platform frame, take a look at that thing. Giving off total Otokoji vibes, Aries Force vibes all day long. And guys and gals, I've looked at a ton of bikes throughout this benDy Tube journey, and this cream one is so clean. Winner for sure. And as I look a little bit deeper, am I getting notes of 1998 Dyno Slammer? Maybe just a little bit. Favorite detail, this little cutout to adjust the brake pads. Y'all remember those Diet Comp 990s with the brake post? They were awful to adjust. This made it a little easier. Thoughtful design for sure. For the dims, we're looking into 18.5 top tube, and for good measure, there's a dope picture of Alan Masabova shredding this thing in all of its mid-school glory. Look at those 2-inch pecs, 2-inch diameter pecs, radial lace wheels, awesome. To wrap up, in 2000, Sunn was working with another French rider, Alexis Desolneux, to develop a flat street hybrid frame called the Stereo. He was dreaming of a flat frame that was more flat than street. He didn't see what he wanted in the market. He thought that the versatile frames like the War Pig and Shaman were more street than flat versus flat than street. So he wanted to design something different. Sadly, Alexis left before the bike was released, and it was eventually released based on his design, but it came out modified, a shadow of his intent, and I may or may not have a picture. We'll see. Where did Alexis go? He left and created Vissance, which is sidebar company. He put out two frames, the Nico, a 19.6-inch top tube mold school flat street hybrid. Then there's also the Konico, a 19.1-inch top tube having flat frame, Both frames rocking the seat stay mounted brakes. And like I said, they're more traditional mold school with that gusset up front, double diamond layout. But he was able to design these to his exact specifications. And it's rad to see Alexis going and doing his own thing. He even had a small team riding for him. Sebastian, Grubinger, Chad Johnson, and Julian Popin. This project lasted till about 2003, and that's where we'll leave it for now. So after that sidebar, we're back in the origin story of our heroes, Jean-Luc and Alex. They once again met there at Sunn, but whenever Jean-Luc was laid off in 1999, Alex followed him and they decided to create the company that is the focus of our video, 20 Velocross, in the year 2000. They jumped right in 2000 with the 20 Velocross channel, and I can't find much on this bike other than this advertisement on 23 Mag. So let's break down this one image as much as we can. Gusset, curved down tube, press fit headset, seat stay brakes, tapered tubes at the dropouts.
Now, as I'm editing this, it is 5 a.m. and I have found a treasure trove. So, new image of the channel was just shown. Let's also cover this image here that shows the channel as a 7005 series aluminum flatland frame with a 19-inch top tube. What? Also, it looks like there was a second frame called the Bondage, which is a 19.5-inch top tube having 75-degree head tube angle, Laurent Lucelot Pro model.
Then in 2001, once again, according to 23 Mag, 20 dropped the bikes, the Crystal, the Hype, and our subject, the Parking. Now, I've mentioned it before, and I am pumped whenever I find information from this mid-school era. And y'all, look at this. OG catalog from Retro Distribution, designed and posted by one Xavier Robleda? Design. So dope. Credits there. With this, we can see all the specs of the Parking. Sold as a complete 19.5 top tube, free coaster, that magical gear ratio of 36-14, 4-piece bars, pegs. And as you can tell by the name, it was targeted at our parking lot fiends. In 02, 20 said Flatland is the most freaking best and designed the 20 family division of the company to focus on the world's greatest sport in the world, Flatland. In 03, Alan Masabova created and designed the revolutionary frame. However, no picture of this frame actually exists that I can find. It's described as Quaman-esque, so here's a picture of a Quaman from 2003. So squint a little, use your imagination, and there you have it, folks. Dim's 18.6 top tube, 76 freaking degree head tube angle, and a 13.38 chainstay. That's a steep head tube angle, y'all. That's so steep. Now let's skip forward a couple years to 2005 and we get the 20 Celeste, designed by the aforementioned French Flatland master Alexis Desolneux. I want to say thank you to Alexis, who helped a ton with the images and history on these bikes. Inspired by the standard Dow of all things, the goal was to keep it simple. And I would say he absolutely nailed it. This is a proper Flatland frame. Gap tube gusset up front, seat stay mounted brakes, dope dropouts, tapered stays, awesome branding, actually inspired by Hydra Head Records back in the day. Certainly beefier than today's little baby tubes that we see, but we got an 18.6 top tube, 75-degree head tube angle, and a 13.6 chainstay. Little smaller, but this is great dimensions for Flatland. Looks like it ran from about 05 to 07 when Alexis left 20. And check this out. Watch this link. Open your eye holes and let this link sink into your think meat. That is insane. I can't even do two, let alone backwards. Then maybe in 2009, 20 dropped the Android line of Flatland goodness. Frame and fork and bars, stem, seat posts, maybe even a seat. I want to say thank you to Sebastian Grubinger, who helped a ton with the images and history on these bikes. Stem was a front load with sleeve compression, keeping the back nice and smooth. Bars, 4-piece, with some cuts and some caps to keep them a little bit more knee friendly. And much like the S&M intricate bars, I love whenever bars have a smaller cross tube than the other handlebar tubes. It's just a clean look. Forks with 990s, more narrow than traditional forks and tapers on them legs. Super clean, great branding by the way. And that Android frame, another straight tube flatland machine. Gap tube, crissy-crossy gusset up front. And this is the first time I remember saying this, but a super low bottom bracket. Y'all see that? Now this thing has lowrider vibes all day. Built-in seat post clamp. Open caps on the seat and chainstays, which is a pretty neat little detail. Really slick machine head tube, and you can almost draw a line from the top of the head tube down the dropouts, straight line all the way down. According to Global Flat, this thing was a microscopic 18.2 top tube, 75.5 degree head tube angle, and a bigly adjustable 12.4 to 13.7 chainstay. Look at this art. I wish they would have released this as a t-shirt that I couldn't buy, but I could covet right now. But super rad art, so cool to see all this history. Glad to be able to share. And finally in 2010, we get the Circus. Another crissy-crossy gap tube gusset banger of a frame. Designed by that Austrian backwards body manual king, Sebastian, who was brought to the 20 team by Alexis back in the day, interestingly enough. Fully heat treated, double butted, 18.8 top tube, 12.9 to 13.7 chainstay, and a 75.5 degree head tube angle. Offered with or without brake mounts, this bike is freaking awesome. And rare. There's like 3 sightings of it that I can find on the internet. So if you have one, post it to Groundwit, post it to BMX Museum, s'il vous plaît. And there's actually one on eBay for sale right now if you really want to get your hands on it. 20 had a vibe. It was spot on, especially later in their run. Slamming frames, gussets, clean, simple, magnifique. So where are they now? Sebastian is still killing it, doing super hard mid-school combos. And he's writing for a company called Heresy. And if you ask who they be, Heresy was started by the aforementioned Alexis Desolneux. So, bonus company. According to Heresy website in 2009, Alexis got fed up at his current sponsor, a bad thing. Learn about it here. One night, Alexis, Michael Husner, and Sebastian Grubinger were chatting about the dream of starting a bike company. Cue the montage. And blammo! Heresy was born in 2010. Their mission was to put out functional and beautiful products, and I think they got it. Hit the nail on the head. The main bit is the Ascend frame. Full range of top tubes, 18.5, 19, 19.5, 20, 20.5, and a 20.75 version, all so clean. And with that big of a model lineup, there is some delineation. The 18-inch and 18.5 was a pure flatland shorty. The 19 and 19.5 is your more traditional flatland, and call it the shaman of our generation. The 20 and 20.5 is a flat street hybrid. In 2019, they added the Ascend X, which kind of blends the flat in the street and the hybrid into a crossover frame. And like I mentioned earlier, that 20.75 is for the taller riders, the ones that still want to ride flat, but maybe they just got a little bit more vertical challenge on the positive end. And it's important to call out that as of 2021, this Ascend frame was in its 4th generation. 10 years, 4 generations, progress, people, progress. Look at these early versions where that bend was welded to the down tube. Later versions, not welded. So much progress. Thank you for sharing, Alexis. So rad. One thing I respect the heck out of is, yeah, they made a whole bunch of top tube sizes, but they didn't take the easy route making the back end the same length for all those sizes. Nope. Each top tube had a proportional rear end. The 18.5 had a 12.6 to 13.2 back end. The 27.5 on the other end had a 13 to 13.6 back end. So they grew, they kind of shrank, and people, that matters. They even had a steeper head tube angle on the longer bikes, so they still felt responsive with the right fork setup. So back to the 18.5, it had a 75-degree head tube angle and a sky high 12.35 bracket. Remember whenever I said you could draw a straight line from the top of the head tube to the dropouts on the Android? This is the opposite. You could draw a straight line from the bottom of the head tube back to the dropouts. I mean, that's crazy. Such a high bottom bracket, and the 18.5 with that big old bend at the front is so elegant, so beautiful, pure hotness. And I just love that they have an 18.5, which, like I mentioned, that was hard to find there for a little bit of time in the new school. And this one, this creamy yellow vibe right here, yo, props. So dope. And they make other banging bits, like all the bits, bars and forks, and these super cool dual offset forks that are perfect for flatland. The seat, the Heresy seat, or the seat combo. These seats are perfect, especially if you remove the innards like I'm showing here to get you a little bit more grippy space. Legit love the seat. A free coaster with the Ezra internals and this incredibly helpful stem hood to protect them knees from getting banged around, and probably one of the best tires on the market right now, the Zephyr. Love it. Rode it. Love it. So Alexis and Heresy, keep doing your thing. And that is it. From Sunn up to 20 down with a hot take on Vissance and Heresy and the super cool French companies and peoples that get, and are going to keep keeping it real. Thanks to our contributors Alexis and Sebastian, and thanks to Attila at 4 Pegs for connecting me to Alexis. This was a fun one. Super rad. As always, Derek with benDy Tubes, thanks for watching.